CJ Shroud faces off with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Both of them are here to promote their product, but CJ was the only one that was invited. Through a tense nonverbal battle, we will witness CJ defend his turf while Tom and Bert try everything to steal the spotlight and garner good favor with the hosts.
Oh, fake Andy Reid there.
That's none of it.
Oh, yeah, that guy's...
Let me get a play call.
No,
That's
Bert Kreischer.
Top dollars here?
Can we come on the set? Yeah, we are.
Bert, that's not fake
Okay,
Andy
all
Reid.
right.
Oh, wow.
All
We
right.
got Tommy Buns with us.
All right, hey, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Tommy! Nice, Tommy!
Pat McAfee notices fake Andy Reid in the crowd, and as he scans the crowd, he braces his chair as he notices Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. In a social context, physically bracing oneself reveals anticipation for a significant, potentially stressful interaction. It signals defensiveness and readiness, and it tends to occur when one is feeling uncertain about what the other party may do. Physically bracing against something solid provides a feeling of stability and control, which is important in a situation where one is beginning to feel emotionally unsettled. Bert says, "Can we come on the set? Yeah, we are," without waiting for a response, and then storms the set without getting approval. We then hear a few of the co-hosts go, "Oh, okay," essentially trying to indirectly say that although they didn't agree to this, they don't really have a way to shut it down without making a big scene. By doing this, Bert has forced an agreement between him and the people on the set. This is an awful thing to do, and we are going to see the effects of this ripple throughout the entire interaction. But what's the psychology behind why you should avoid a forced agreement at all costs? Not considering the autonomy of another before you enter their space implies that you don't hold them to the level of respect that you hold yourself to. Making an action like this only serves to create bad will within the dynamic, and we see this annoyance and bad will begin to ripple through the entire interaction. When someone perceives a threat to their freedom to make choices, they attempt to restore their autonomy by refusing to capitulate. The receiving party of a forced agreement has instantaneous bad will towards their counterparty because they feel like they have been disrespected and their value has not been recognized from the start. And so throughout the entire interaction, they will be less focused on forming a connection and more focused on providing resistance and getting their due respect. We will soon see that the person most affected by this is CJ Shroud. Our actions are judged by the public regardless of if we are drunk or not, which is why when we are in a potentially strategic interaction, we should keep our alcohol consumption minimal. We see Tom hesitate to follow Bert, and rightly so. He recognizes the level of disrespect that a forced agreement implies, but he feels that he doesn't have any other option here. So a hesitation in his following is Tom's way of telling the group, hey, I don't really have any other option. I'm just as much a part of this forced agreement as you guys are. And then we see Tom being welcomed by the host much more than Bert is.
All right, hey, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Tommy! Nice, Tommy!
Tommy, CJ. Do you know these guys?
No, how you doing, CJ?
Need one of those hoodies, Tommy.
These are two funny whites. Two funny whites, CJ. Two funny whites,
Cool.
Tom and...
CJ Shroud scans the room and looks at the co-host as they embrace Tom Segura. Starting to feel the effects of Bert's forced agreement, he is slightly annoyed at how they are beginning to commandeer the podcast. Glancing at a current member of the group upon entrance of a new member of the group relies on pre-established rapport to potentially communicate disapproval and a wish not to engage with the newcomer. We see Pat refer to Tom and Bert as two funny whites. It is slightly disrespectful, but it is purposeful because it appeals to the annoyance that CJ feels with being interrupted. By insulting Tom and Bert and then calling them funny, Pat is signaling to CJ indirectly that, I agree with you, this is kind of disrespectful. However, they are funny, so let's give them the floor for now because it will be worth it. CJ's laugh at Pat's statement is an indirect agreement to Pat's reasoning to let them on.
Two funny whites, CJ. Two funny whites, Tom and...
interrupt?
Hey, man, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
I heard you were sleeping this morning.
Here, I got you a recovery drink.
Thank
Oh,
you,
wow.
I was-
They said if two brothers would have walked in, they would have called the police.
No shit.
Bert feels more comfortable giving Tom the position that's closer to the group, likely because in the beginning the group embraced Tom more than they did Bert. The typical desire of the group is that the higher status individual be closer to the center. Having them physically closer to the center ensures that everyone within the group can pay attention. So in an attempt to garner rapport with the group, Bert acts with the intentions of the group in mind. CJ is specifically there to promote his product. And once he sees Tom put his own product on the table, CJ becomes even more annoyed. By saying this joking insult, he is indirectly displaying his dissatisfaction, essentially saying, "You have unjustly and undeservedly walked onto this set." Pat laughs because he genuinely agrees with CJ's indirect message, especially considering the disrespect from Bert's forced agreement. Pat is appreciative of Tom and Bert, but he is more focused on remaining on CJ's side, as CJ is his actual guest.
Thank you,
Wow.
I was-
They said if two brothers would have walked in, they would have called the police.
No shit.
CJ, you drinking?
We see that Tom's laugh is delayed. When someone tells a joke that is simple and funny, our laughter is an impulse, meaning it comes directly after the joke. The fact that there was 2 seconds in between the joke and Tom's laughter shows us that his laughter was likely strategically fabricated and intentionally deployed as an attempt to maintain rapport. The effect of laughter falls on a spectrum based on how we deploy it. Often, sharing our laughter with the group serves to reinforce our connection to the group. But if it is seen that the laughter is disingenuous, then the laughter has an adverse effect and serves to weaken the connection to the group.
You drinking? You drinking, CJ?
No, sir, I don't drink.
No.
Nope.
He's got an offensive rookie of the year to win, dude. Just won it. Okay, Bert, sorry about it. How are you guys
Boy,
doing?
Tom.
Let's go. You're still doing it?
I'm hammered.
Still doing
I'm
it.
gonna give it to Tom. I shouldn't talk.
Yeah. Don't.
Watch out, man. It's C4 time. Y'all tripping.
Yeah, man.
Get sober.
CJ notices Pat give a microphone to Tom, and by Pat doing this, he is effectively giving a platform for Tom to get more control in the situation. In an attempt to stop the growing control that Tom and Bert are getting, CJ calls them out directly, trying to nip it in the bud, by indirectly saying, "This is not your guys' and your product's time, this is me and my product's time." We see Pat laugh after CJ says this, showing CJ that while he did just platform Tom and Bert, he is still on CJ's side.
I shouldn't talk.
Don't.
Watch out, man. It's C4 time. Y'all tripping.
Yeah, man.
Get sober.
What's this taste like?
It's really good, actually. This is really good.
Waterfall.
How's this?
Great mix.
That's delicious. Try it.
Because CJ's callout was direct and had very little nuance, Tom now begins to really feel the oppositional tension with CJ. Tom feels that CJ's direct response shows that CJ unequivocally thinks that Tom and Bert are here with bad intentions. Instead of talking to CJ, he leans over to Pat and inquires, "What's this taste like?" Intentional social exclusion reveals an emotional distress towards one's counterparty. It also serves to make the counterparty feel out of place. Through Tom choosing to talk to Pat instead of CJ about CJ's drink, he reveals the growth of the oppositional tension that he is feeling. By complimenting CJ's drink and then inquiring about Tom and Bert's, Pat is still able to balance remaining on both Tom and Bert's side as well as CJ's side.
It's really good, actually. This is really good.
Waterfall.
How's this?
Great mix.
That's delicious. Try it.
What is it?
It's our recovery drink.
Tom views Pat's question as an olive branch to subconsciously gain more control over the situation. In order to follow through on it, he turns his body away from CJ and creates a physical barrier between CJ and Pat. Now this is a very direct move, but it is an oppositional response to CJ calling them out directly, even though CJ was somewhat justified in doing that. We turn toward ideas and people we agree with and away from ideas and people that we disagree with. By intentionally turning away from someone, we display our dissatisfaction and disinterest. And the hope is that the showing of this disinterest incentivizes our counterpart to placate us and act more in our favor. CJ notices exactly what Tom is doing, and he becomes even more annoyed. CJ, knowing that he is losing his favor with Pat to Tom, looks to the other co-hosts that are off camera to the right in order to non-verbally garner support for his situation.
There you
See?
go.
Jeez.
What else?
I had the mic.
It's
Get out of here.
you know, there's
CJ tries to rally the camaraderie of the co-hosts by beginning a chant, and we see Pat start to go along with it as well. Pat right now is on both sides, but up until this point, the co-hosts to the right of the camera are pretty much 100% on CJ's side, and we see that through the intensity of how they go along with the C4 chant. The intensity of their chant makes Bert aware of their partiality to CJ. So in a subconscious attempt to gain more control, Bert walks over there, offering them each a sip of his product, hoping to get them more on his side.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
He poured it here. I'm not.
There we
Thank you
go.
guys, man.
Oh, boy.
Thank you guys for stopping by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nice.
I don't drink.
That's a lie. That,
Boom.
okay,
There it
thank you,
is.
Bert, for doing that, Bert. Really nice of you.
He just doesn't want to put his. He drinks.
I want one of those hoodies.
I C4 only.
Hey,
CJ,
good.
CJ, C4, CJ.
Good.
That's smooth as hell, but I'm going to
Isn't
throw
it
up.
weird how high-level athletes don't booze?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
crazy,
especially
right?
Thursday at 11 a.m. Thursday, 11 a.m.
Tom jokingly says, "Isn't it weird how high-level athletes don't booze?" He's joking here, of course, but the butt of the joke is CJ, again stoking the tension between the two. We see Pat utilize a very interesting tactic in his response. He says, "Yeah, it's crazy, especially on a Thursday at 11 a.m. He directly agrees with Tom, but at the same time, he indirectly shuts him down by pointing out how degenerate it is to be drinking so early. This not only reins Tom back in, but it allows Pat to indirectly show CJ that he is still on his side. CJ notices this and is pleased.
Thursday at 11 a.m. Thursday, 11 a.m. Hey, Bert, here's to you, bub.
Brother.
Y'all getting free promo. Excuse me. I'm in the way.
Hold that C4 up.
Y'all get free promos.
Sorry.
As Bert was handing out the drinks, CJ was watching intently as each one of the co-hosts accepted the drink from Bert. CJ begins to realize that there is no longer anyone here that is solely on his side. Because of this, when Bert then comes close to CJ, CJ can't really argue anymore, and now just says, "Y'all are getting free promo." But he will get his fire back very soon.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, here's to you, boys.
Cheers.
2 bears.
Let's see. You'll
Is
be
there
good.
alcohol in there?
Take it
Definitely alcohol
down.
at the
Take
bottom.
it down, Pat McAfee. Come on.
Two.
What is it?
Notice how Tom's left arm is bent, covering his torso, instead of relaxed and down to his side. Bert also has his arm that's closest to CJ bent, instead of down to his side. This is again another acknowledgement of the oppositional tension. The stiff and intentionally positioned arm signals the desire to maintain separation through the creation of a barrier. It is a posture meant to claim and defend personal space, but most importantly, it assists in confirming what we've expected all along, as it shows us that Tom and Bert are not sharing goodwill with CJ, and vice versa. CJ has quite literally been surrounded. Tom and Bert have dismantled all of his support, and now CJ looks to the audience to appeal to his situation and garner more support, because they are all he has left. For now.
Come on.
Two.
What is it?
You're ready to go.
Yeah, I am. Hell yeah. I wasn't before, but now I am.
Now you are.
Thank you. I can find this in Texas,
California,
and Florida.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pro.
When Pat says, "Yeah, I am," CJ raises his eyebrows because now Pat has crossed the line. A prolonged eyebrow raise signifies surprise. CJ was not expecting Pat to take Tom's side so clearly, especially since both the products are so similar. Pat unwaveringly co-signs Tom and Bert's product, and this causes CJ to feel dejected because Pat no longer offers CJ any indirect messaging to tell CJ that he's still on his side. Because of this, CJ feels he has no further available moves. Tom touches Pat on the shoulder to deepen the connection, and all CJ feels he can do is just watch and be mad. CJ feels that he's been isolated and disrespected, and CJ's comments from here on out become very direct and unwavering, which shows us that the potential for any future rapport between them is diminishing by the second. We are watching their bad will for each other spiral out of control in real time, and it all started from a forced agreement.
Oh, he's the man.
Porosis.
Hey, Shroud, how many push-ups do you think I can do right now?
I got a good 3.5.
3.5. He's doubting you.
Oh, my
wow.
God.
CJ says 3.5, and we see the co-hosts erupt in laughter, causing CJ to gain a little bit of control back and lift his morale temporarily.
All right.
Okay.
CJ 3.
No
Hold on,
underwear.
Bert. What is an accurate over under?
Wait,
what is a proper
24 and a half.
No, what's a proper expectation? What 40?
They gotta be full.
Okay, so we'll do
Wait, but AJ's calling. He's gonna give you range notes.
Down and up.
What is going on?
What?
CJ.
We got a strong hamster about to do push-ups.
Bert knows that historically, when he takes his shirt off, he gets more attention. And so Bert feels that him taking his shirt off will lead to more people seeing the show and therefore more people seeing his product. While this is happening, we see CJ looking around, completely confused. He's wondering why the guy he was just in tension with is making a fool out of himself. CJ was not familiar with Bert before this and is unable to recognize that Bert is making a strategic play here. CJ merely thinks that Bert is embarrassing himself and is drunkenly doing something stupid. And so CJ is confused on why Bert would do something that would play into CJ's favor like this. We see CJ take advantage of this by poking Bert and telling another joke at his expense. The co-hosts laugh again, and rising from the depths of despair, CJ begins to gain back more control.
What is going on?
What?
CJ.
We got a strong hamster about to do push-ups.
CJ, listen. None of us know what's going on.
Sorry.
Come on, let's see how
Including
many
me.
you can do.
And I walked in with him.
Tom says, including me, and I walked in on him. By separating himself from Bert, Tom removes himself from catching any collateral embarrassment that Bert causes from here on out. Up until this point, Tom and Bert were a unit, and Tom didn't make the effort to separate himself from Bert until Bert started doing something unpredictable which might negatively affect the promotion of the product. By separating himself from Bert, any control that CJ gains from here on out over Bert is no longer applied to Tom as well. If CJ wants to fully regain favor, he is going to now have to deal with Tom separately.
Yeah. All right.
All right. You count it, AJ. Come on.
One.
Yeah, lock out.
Yeah, go on.
Yep.
Oh, these aren't push-ups.
CJ says, "These aren't push-ups," and Pat erupts with laughter, again allowing CJ to take back more control and favor with the hosts. Tom has separated himself from Bert though, and so the power that CJ gains back is only over Bert. Tom is still in good favor.
You can see his horse.
We're going. Come on.
Where's he at right now?
15.
16? Where you at, Bert? What number are you at?
We see the co-host on the right dismissively say, "I'm not counting." Again, we see another example of the co-host's favor shifting away from Bert and back to CJ.
Don't make him count.
All the way up.
Somebody else count.
No, we missed it already.
I know.
So if we start counting.
Impressed,
It's
though.
at least 20.
Come on.
There's 30 right there.
There are how many?
30.
30. All the way up.
9. That's 40.
Sure.
Come on. I
Get to
don't know.
50. Let's get to 50.
He's been going since early.
CJ, this is your fault.
Nah, it stinks in here now.
His wife?
Pat looks at CJ and says, "CJ, this is your fault." He's half joking when he says this, but by saying this, he is telling CJ that if you hadn't been so direct and confrontational with them, this drunk man wouldn't be on the ground trying to prove himself right now. But the thing is that CJ is justified in his actions, and seeing how Pat unwaveringly co-signed Tom's product, CJ feels perfectly fine parrying Pat's comment and rejecting it by putting the negative focus back onto Bert when he says, "Nah, it stinks in here now."
Fired up.
He said 3 a.m. I had an argument with his wife.
He lost 50 grand, he said.
There you go.
Hey,
Come
way
on.
to go,
Give him a round
Bert.
of applause.
We're proud of you,
CJ,
Bert.
call it to Miko.
We're proud of you, Bert.
The co-hosts applaud Bert as he gets up, and we predictably see CJ withholding his applause. Tom notices this and really realizes how truly dissatisfied CJ is with the current situation, and we see CJ reject Bert's ask to get him to do the push-ups as well.
I'm good, brother. With the
Hey, we appreciate you boys.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Sorry, Bert.
Tom, thanks, bub.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. Sorry for ruining
Go,
your
Tom. Thank you, Tom.
CJ, great to meet you. C4 for life.
Good work, Bert.
That's awesome. Hey,
Love you too, Bert. Thank you.
no, you're
No apologies needed.
Thanks for coming.
No apologies needed.
Tom touches Pat's shoulder, and he apologizes while laughing. This immediately gets CJ's attention, because hearing an apology like this makes CJ feel as if he's getting his power back. However, since Tom previously separated himself from Bert, when he apologizes, he is apologizing for Bert's actions, not his. And so while CJ is immediately interested, Tom is not surrendering to the tension that him and CJ had. Tom is merely apologizing on behalf of Bert in order to gracefully end the interaction. It got CJ's attention though, which implies that CJ was open to mending the conflict and forming a potential connection. However, since CJ noticed that Tom was only apologizing on behalf of Bert and not on behalf of himself, CJ feels justified in rejecting Tom's advances of a potential handshake by grabbing his product and putting it on top of theirs, essentially telling Tom, "You are not deserving of a handshake. Any potential goodwill in this relationship has been thwarted by what you did here today."
Good, Tom. Great shoes.
Yeah, I'll take it.
It's yours.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Good to see you, Tom.
Here you go. Bert's great shoes, Tom.
Yeah, so CJ, those are two drunk whites in the wild, and we did not know that was happening on
It's all good, man.
What you give him 2.5, 3.5 push-ups?
Yeah.
When Bert and Tom came on originally, Pat referred to them as two funny whites, and as they leave, Pat refers to them as two drunk whites, being intentionally disrespectful in order to appeal to the annoyance of the collective group. By exchanging funny for drunk, he indirectly acknowledges that he was wrong in saying that they would be funny and worth the interruption. We see CJ laugh in approval. Apology accepted. How we begin our interactions set the pace for the rest of the dynamic and even the rest of the relationship. We should be intentional about how we enforce ourselves into the space of others and be cognizant that we do not shoot ourselves in the foot in the process. What are your thoughts on this tense interaction? Remember to like the video, subscribe, and follow the newsletter on strategic communication because I said so. My name is Glidget Ronan. Thank you so much for watching.